Hello, everybody. Hi, Emma. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah. I don't remember what day we're on anymore. It's definitely over 2 weeks, like 2.5 weeks right now, I think, right?
Yes, yeah, I think so, yeah.
Um, and today we're going to be talking about relationships in isolation, how to, take care of them and staying in touch and different ideas. And Emma's going to talk to us a bit about NLP and how that uh, fits into relationships and the work that we can do there. And yeah, how are your relationships going, Emma?
Well, I'm certainly learning a lot. There are some that I've been able to deepen and enhance certain relationships, and there are others that I found quite challenging as well. So, well, I will share a few things that I know from NLP, and also like a few things from my experience. And I am in no way like perfect at this. This is something that I'm still learning and growing and evolving in as well. So if there's anything I can share from my experience that might be useful for other people, then yeah, that's what I thought I'll do, and why I'm here today to join in this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. We can learn so much, from all types of relationships. And I see all relationships as just a mirror of my own things that I have to learn. And so sometimes people reflect good things to me, things that I like, that I want to develop, things that I see within myself that I want to grow. And sometimes people reflect things to me that are like, I see very clearly that's something I do not want in my life, something that I don't want to give attention to or give energy to. And and usually when those types of things happen, where it's more negative and I see I don't want it, then I am really directed into, what's going on inside of me and what is that person triggering in me. Even though part of the mind wants to like go to judge that person or get angry at that person or, uh, you know, call them names or do whatever it is that the personality part of the mind starts doing. But then there's also the part which for me is the most important part, right? Is like after seeing that aspect, then going into, oh, why am I feeling bad when I interact with that person? Like what's going on inside of me? Why do I have these, what emotions are they stirring up in me? And maybe I need to go away from that person for a period of time because it's just too much. Like I can't process all the emotions and stuff that I'm feeling when I'm interacting with that person, or maybe they're no good for my experience at the moment, right? That connection, not the person. Um, or maybe it's at a level to where I can just keep working on those feelings with that relationship present. But it's really like a world of different types of experiences we have with relationships. And sometimes the person that you love,
Mm,
right, you want to be with the most triggers the really dark, like difficult stuff. Family members,
mm,
I don't know.
yes, absolutely. And everything you said, I totally resonate with that. It's like people are mirrors for us. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes it does take us taking a step back and going in within ourselves and creating a little bit of distance if we can. But obviously, like within this situation, if that's people that we're living with, then obviously you can't do that in a similar way as you could if the situation wasn't going on. Something that's really important to notice is this is something that my teacher, Jessica Robbins, mentioned, and she was talking about how whenever we're in a situation where our survival is threatened, and at the moment there's a huge amount of uncertainty that's going on in the world, and a lot of people feel like their sense of survival is being threatened in some way. This is when the deep core patterns come out, like the deep core behavioral patterns come out. So the people who have the tendency to get angry, and that's their way of coping with things, then this will probably come up more often like this period in time when we're going through all these challenges. Or if someone has the tendency to get anxious or overwhelmed, that may come up as well. I've been noticing that I've been holding a lot more tension in my jaw over the last couple of weeks than usual, because there's been a lot more uncertainty, and that's like my body has been showing like signs of a little bit more anxiety coming up. And yeah, also, or people who have the tendency to get sad or depressed or withdraw from people, this may come up as well. So it's really important to notice, like, what are we doing? How are we behaving? How are we responding to people and things and situations? And also observe the people around us. And if we notice that there are any kind of challenges going between relationships, friendships, all of that, like have that, like hold that mirror up to yourself, like you were saying, and reflect and learn. And if you need to take a little bit of distance, then do that in a way that you can at the moment. It's important, and ask ourselves, like, okay, what can I learn from this? Like that question alone is really useful. What can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? And what are the positive action steps onwards from that? And yeah, there are some like connections that can be enhanced and improved, and there are some that actually we need to kind of take a little bit more of a step back as well, if it's not serving us, if that's what we can do at the moment. But obviously if we're living with someone, like I have heard of some ex-partners that they are actually living together still during this time and during isolation. So that's a challenging situation to be in if the relationship is not going well for those people. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, what about when you ask, what can I learn from this? And you still have no idea? Like, I think that that's a pretty common thing, right? Is like, mm-hmm. What can I learn from this? It's like too vague of a question sometimes, so it's not very obvious, the answer right away.
Mm-hmm.
How to find that answer?
Yeah, so then like seeing what behavior is being displayed in the other, like how the other person is responding to you, like, or how, like, I've had a few situations in the last week where I've had particular behaviors being directed towards me, and then it gives me an opportunity to look at that and use that as a mirror and be like, okay, how do I do that to myself? Do I do that to myself? Like, for example, if someone's being angry at me, when am I angry with myself? Can I learn anything from that perspective? Or if there's nothing, if we think right now, then just go into like noticing what feelings and emotions are coming up first and finding a creative outlet for that, like writing, drawing, dancing, or even like talking with a friend, another friend or a loved one. It's like finding some outlet where we can first just like be with whatever is and feel that. And it's almost like, you know, when you've got like a muddy river, like there's lots of movement and chaos, and you can't really see what's going on clearly in the river because the mud is all swirling around in the water. Whereas when we have a moment to just like be and like be with whatever is, then everything kind of, all the mud kind of goes down to the bottom of the river, and then we're able to see things more clearly. So finding some outlets, meditation also, like you're a big advocate of meditation, and that helps a lot as well. It's like finding something, some way to deal with that, and there are many things that help, but it's not just like one answer for that solves it all.
Yeah, and talking about meditation, because it's such a very universal and it's a fast tool. It's something that people can immediately start doing right the second, and start training the mind, right, to observe the breath and just be with the breath, and that's it. Just look at the breath, take the mind to the breath. So I don't know what lesson I'm learning. I don't like the way this person's acting. We're arguing, things are not flowing. It's all crazy. I'm so frustrated. What do I do? And then, oh, I'm breathing. Oh yeah. And you break that like constant chain of thought patterns, emotions, all that stuff. You take the control rather than all those things controlling your life. All of a sudden you've said, am I breathing? Oh yeah, I'm breathing. Obviously I'm breathing, I'm alive. So then, oh, let's see, is my air going in and out of my nose? How long can I keep my attention looking at the air going in and out of my nose, even with your eyes open? Right? It's just like focusing the mind on the natural breath to break that rolling in a bunch of, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to say unproductive because it serves some purpose, but something that's causing more strife and more suffering. At that moment, take the power to your attention to your breath, and then just sit for a minute. Even just 1 minute or even 30 seconds can have monumental effects because you broke that chain, right? So it's like for me, it's the tool that instantly can break that cycle of negative thinking, negative emotion, rolling and projecting onto other people, feeling like a victim, all sorts of self-inflicted misery, basically. Is no matter what it is, it could be worry, it could be a problem with a person, it could be tons of physical pain, it could be you name it, that's causing me suffering. If I at 1 second go to my respiration, I break that cycle of whatever that suffering is. So yeah, that's why I'm such a huge advocate, because it's a universal tool. And yeah, if you're in a relationship, in a partnership with somebody who's open to that as well, that's something that, not in a heated moment, to sit and look at together. And then on your own, or you can practice together too, but on your own, when the heated moment happens, like retreat to their own corners or rooms or whatever, chairs, whatever it is. And then, am I breathing? Okay. Oh, I'm not breathing. Like barely any air is going in and out. Let me just look at that for a minute, like notice, and then see what happens if I just sit there with my attention there for 30 seconds. Something will happen. Something will happen. And it won't be you rolling in misery with whatever. All of a sudden you're just like, oh, everything's fine. Actually, I'm breathing.
Absolutely. This is what in NLP, this is what we call a pattern, and doing something to interrupt the pattern, like changing the strategy in some way, like doing something different, whatever that is. Breathing, doing some star jumps, like do something just to kind of shift what's going on in the moment and interrupt the pattern, so you're not continuing with the same strategy of creating that mountain out of a molehill that sometimes we do. And something that's really important to mention is that one of the presuppositions in NLP is that people are not their behaviors. So what that means is understanding that deep within that person, it's a human being, a soul, an energy, consciousness. And they may act in certain ways, they may do certain things, they may not fulfill our expectations, they may say hurtful things, that may happen, yet deep down within, they're simply just another human being, another soul. So it's like remembering that presupposition, people are not their behaviors, can be really useful just to kind of shift the perspective. And and change the focus point. Like, am I focusing on what they said or what they done or what they hadn't said or what they haven't done? Or am I focused on, okay, here we are as a collective humanity going through this incredibly challenging time, and we're all trying to deal with it in the best way that we possibly know how. And of course, there's a lot of stuff coming up to the surface, and people may not behave in the ways that we want them to, or they may not say the things that we want them to say, or they may, like, different things are coming up. There's a lot of things coming up, a lot of fear, anxiety, anger, and all of this. So recognizing this and making sure that you are also, like, not only like using that as a focus point for other people, but also like recognizing that you are not your behaviors either. So if you find yourself behaving in a way that you think, oh, I should have done that, or I should have done that, or I could have dealt with that better, or oh, why did I have to snap, or why did I have to do that, is recognizing that actually, okay, we are in any given moment, we are doing the very best that we know how with our current mindset and our current emotional state. And we can shift that through meditation, through interrupting the pattern, through like many things, hypnosis, visualizations, music, dancing, all of that. We can create these positive shifts. And also it's like being kind with ourselves and others along the process. And if that means that we need to take a step back to tune in to ourselves or to have a little bit of space, even if it's simply like, if we can't like physically do that, if we're in the same room with people, then just both people just close their eyes and take a moment out. But yeah, absolutely, there's many different things that can help.
Yeah, I try to in general, when there's a conflict with somebody, and like take that space, and then when reconnecting, to see them as a totally new person, like that, meeting them for the first time, kind of like, oh, I'm reconnecting with a totally new whoever it is, and meeting them in the present moment, because this present moment hasn't existed before, so they haven't existed before as this exact same person. So, like all of our cells and all of our, different parts of our physical being has their process of regenerating and transforming, and all different sorts of processes that are happening. And so, whatever, just think of like the air breathed in and out is totally different than it was 30 minutes ago. So that person on some level is not exactly the same person as it was 10 minutes ago. The same as like the electricity in the light bulb, like, the energy, it just keeps, it's so fast, it looks like the same light, but it's actually, that's why it goes out, right? Because all of a sudden it stopped. It kept rising and passing away so fast until there was no more. And then that was it. And the same thing is happening on the subatomic level in our bodies. We just don't see it, no, but we see from baby to, 80-year-old person, there's constant change going on. So there actually wasn't ever any single second where there was the same exact being. It's just too slow. In that case, it's too slow, the change, the visual change, for us to see it. So when I do that and I see the person like, oh, Emma, no, I haven't seen you since the last time we talked. It's a totally different Emma. And so I'm meeting you with that, like, oh, who is this person that I'm meeting right now? And I don't know all the stuff that you've gone through in the past week and all those things, like, until you tell me. And then I still don't even really know at the deep level what's actually going on with you. So if I just always meet people, even if nothing bad happened, with that energy, then it's like what I'm bringing, so many times people think that it's about what that person did and what that person has to change and what that person, whatever. And it's like, no, actually it's all about how I respond. And so even if you betrayed me and lied and stole and bad things you did, you know, but I'm not coming to meet you again with this anger and bad feeling. I'm coming with, okay, let's see what's going on now. Because, okay, maybe I'm not gonna, you know, give you the keys to my car and say, please, you know, borrow my car when last time you took it and crashed it. I'm gonna be practical with my own behavior in those regards, but I'm also gonna be responsible with the energy that I'm bringing to you. Like, what kind of attitude I have, what kind of what kind of heart I'm bringing to you. Is it an open heart, or is it a closed, scared, angry, cold heart, you know? And then sometimes amazing things happen, right? Because even though that person maybe didn't have a divine revelation and change and become a saint, they are met with like compassion and acceptance and forgiveness and all of these good qualities or positive qualities. And then that's something new. Maybe usually people just judge them and, you know, get angry and hold things against them and that kind of stuff. So then you never know. And I feel a lot better when I meet people in the present moment, rather than like, oh, but when I go to meet the person to have a conversation to make things better, to wrap things up, or to resolve things, but I'm coming there like, yeah, but they said this thing, and yeah, then they talked about me to other people, and they did, like, that doesn't feel good to me to go into it like that. I'm like, wait a second, how about that person that I loved having tea with? You know, how about the person that I laughed with watching that silly show? Let me meet with that idea. You know, it's all what we choose.
It's what result we want at the end of it. It's like, okay, do I want to continue the same story and pattern, or do I actually want to create change? I often talk about this with my clients, is that we can, like, depending on, like, there's an equation, cause and effect, and we can choose which side of the equation we want to be at, like whether we want to be at cause, which means taking responsibility for our part and what we have influence over, our thoughts, our mind, our emotions, all of that, and taking responsibility for what we can influence. Or we can be at the effect side of the equation, which means being the victim, pointing the finger, blaming, saying it's your fault, that you did this, and like constantly pointing the finger outward and putting all the attention on the other and kind of saying, well, all the issues are because of you. That's not going to change anything. Because if the other person doesn't change, we could be waiting a very long time. So like what's really important to do is to be at the cause side of the equation, and it doesn't mean that we blame ourselves or anything like that. It's simply just saying, okay, what can I do? Like, what result do I want, and what can I do? It's like taking responsibility for our life and our actions, and really like owning like our part in that. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I messed up, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to work on this in myself, and rather than like, well, you didn't do this, blah blah blah. Yeah, because otherwise we're just continuing the story. It's really important that that we act responsible. I mean, and this goes with the Burning Man principles as well. It's like being responsible for your own well-being as well. Like really kind of, yeah, absolutely, which is up there. Being responsible for your own well-being, and because essentially like that is like our thoughts and our stories, everything that's going on, the internal dialogue, that's what really determines how we feel, not what other people say or do. Obviously it can be influenced by what other people say and do, though it's down to us.
Yeah, I'm very huge advocate for that self-reliance, especially in the emotional and Yeah, in that mental state, right? It's like, it's so common that we blame and judge everything outside for then, oh, and then I couldn't sleep that night. Well, that's, if I can't sleep at night, I'm sure that's my problem. As not because whoever did not call me, whoever did not, hurt my feelings, whatever they all did, because they all do a lot of stuff. But like the fact that I suffer, I'm sure that's me, like, and there, because I know there are so many tools for me to come out of that, it has to be that it's me who's causing that. Right. So if I say that, and that person doesn't change, and that person who did whatever does the same thing to you, and you don't have a problem with it. So it can't be the person, right? I'm not saying that actions of people that are harmful and violent and overall bad are yay, come on everybody, do that. That's not what I'm saying. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that that's all wonderful. I'm just saying that if I suffer, that's me, and I want to figure out how to resolve that and how to live peacefully in the face of any kind of thing outside, even not a person, just a natural disaster or a pandemic, and losing my job, and oops, I mean, so many things can happen to us. We're so vulnerable and we're so delicate. I mean, there are just millions of possibilities. And yeah, it's all, how will I react in the face of any of those possibilities? Sometimes it's not a person. Sometimes it's a situation. There's no one to blame. It's an earthquake. Then what? Who do I blame? The earth? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And it's important that like we notice like whatever comes up, and there may be moments where we fall into that saying like we're all human. There may be moments, it's just noticing what we choose to do overall on a consistent basis, what we choose to do on a regular basis. So, I mean, I've certainly had moments where I've blamed and I've played the victim and all of that, and haven't done the best things. Those through all of those situations that you then learn, and then you start to realize like what's the best overall, and then like every day is a little step forward, and there may be like a step back, and then a step, 2 steps forward, and that's okay. And it's recognizing like what you choose to do overall and what you want your life to be about. What, like, if your life is a book, like what do you want that story to be about? Like, we get to write the pages of that book. So yeah, like, and we absolutely have choice in this. Like, I say this with my students, like, we always have a choice, always. Even if it feels like we don't have a choice, there's still the choice to either play the victim or not. There's still that choice. I mean, like, Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning, he was in a concentration camp. Like, he experienced horrific circumstances. Like, even like, I can't even imagine what he must have gone through. Yet he decided to see that experience as nothing. He decided to see that experience as like, okay, life is happening for me, not to me. And this current situation, I'm going through this, so then I can write a book about this and help people afterwards. So it's like, yeah, it's changing that and like choosing like, okay, am I going to create a brick wall, or am I going to use it as a stepping stone and move forward and yeah, be at cause and like choose and to see things in a way that is constructive rather than destructive. And there are so many things that can help with that.
yeah, and I want to just clarify that, like, I wasn't saying that you shouldn't, have your experience of feeling like a victim. Like, that's happens to me all the time too. And it's what you said, it's the opportunity to, you have to go through so many different things in the human experience to be able to see it, right? So it's like, if I haven't been in the victim role, I can't see what that is like, right? So I don't think there's anyone on the planet that's just like, has always been totally, you know, oh, I see the lessons right away, and it's so clear to me, and I'm at peace all the time. Like, I don't think that exists on this at this moment, and I have no idea if that exists. From what I've seen, I don't see any of that. And in my world, it's like experience after experience after experience for so many years, going in the same pattern of suffering and trying to figure out how to get out. But then coming in contact with the tools, that there are so many, and especially now with the internet, we have so many free tools accessible to us. It's not just like going to therapy anymore, right? You, before it was like a stigma, like, oh, they go to therapy, or oh, you have a psychologist or something, like, you know, and used a lot of words to make it sound like it was something stupid. And now, I mean, you can just read articles that are full of all these tools, you know, everything from meditation to yoga to NLP to behavioral therapy to all, I mean, I think the list is infinite at this point, and in every language.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that's really useful is the what we call in NLP, we call it representational systems. So it's identifying that some people are very like they're very sensitive to what they see. Like they're very focused on the colors, the shapes, the visual element of things. Some people have that sensitivity more with sounds and what they hear. Like maybe if there's like a particular sound that might be distracting for them and might be too much for them, or they may need to have music because that's a way that comforts them. It depends. And some people are very connected with the feelings, like the touch, the feelings, that gut feeling, intuition, any sensations. So with these representational systems, this can be really useful to bear in mind with when we're communicating to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
These representations, I don't see them as like being set in stone, and it can vary from situation to situation. Like we might be more visual in one situation compared to another, that can happen. Though there tends to be like an overall bias towards one or two compared to the others in individuals. And so like if we're communicating with someone, like for example, my current partner, he is very visual. So I will, if I'm obviously like we're not in the same building, so we're kind of separated at the moment during this quarantine. And when I'm communicating with him, I tend to put more focus on video calls. I will send him more images than words. I will send him like little GIFs, like with like little funny moving images and things like that, because it helps me to communicate in his language. It helps me to connect to him even more. Whereas like if someone is very in tune with sounds, then perhaps we can send them a voice audio or call them. Perhaps we can send them some music. Being aware of this can be really, really interesting. And obviously, like with the kinesthetic, like the feelings, the sensations, obviously we can't go and hug them if they're not in the same building during this time. So what we can do with that, and what I've been playing around with as well, is with is like we're all made up of energy, right? Like everything's energy, and we can simply just send that intention of sending someone a hug, that energy. And someone who's very kinesthetic, they may pick up on that because they're sensitive to feelings and sensations, that you're sending these good vibes, this hug to that person. So we can have a lot of fun with this and get creative and find new ways to connect and communicate and learn more about each other thanks to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's learn, yeah.
Opportunity. What?
No, that's it.
Yeah, there's so many things that we can learn right now. And I hear, all like two different, it seems like there's two different, I don't know about the other ones. The two that I'm able to identify are ways of dealing with this situation. And that's uh, just trying to get through it. Like, oh, I'm going to do stuff to pass the time. And then, oh my goodness, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use it, right? I'm going to use this opportunity to enhance all of the things that I'm given the opportunity to do right now, or the time to do it. Because we don't know how long this is going to last. And we also don't know if we'll ever have anything like it again. Right? So it's like, if we don't know what's coming after this, what things are going to look like, what things are going to be like, what's going to happen. So might as well use it to build the resources and these tools and learn about how to connect and all that stuff. And the other way of doing it, like just passing the time and getting through it, feels like, oh, but we're missing something there. Like, wait, don't you see? Look, like you could do all this stuff and like come out like, like a superhero kind of, if you want. But not everybody is on the same path. That's the other important thing, right? So like in relationships, accepting that we all have different focus. I had a family member tell me, because I was so excited about meditation courses, all these things, and I was like, oh, why doesn't that person do it? And my family member was like, Jamie, he has absolutely zero interest in anything about that. Like, doesn't care about, self-exploration, about learning about who he is and going in and discovering different aspects of his being. And I'm like, who is that? Oh, that's a lot of people. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I also found out recently that there are a lot of people who their goal is not to be happy. Like their goal is to be happy. Like their goal is to be sad. No. But that their main focus in life is not to be happy. Like I was like, oh, I'm not sure what it is then. But that's me from my narrow part that needs to or wants to expand, like, oh, there are people who want to, I don't know what it is. If you're not here to be happy and enjoy life, I'm not really sure what it is. I guess it's like, oh, I'm here to take care of my kids. That doesn't necessarily include being happy because I have to work at my job that I don't like the whole time to be able to provide for them. I don't know. Because I don't know what the option is. Huh?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's sometimes it like when we have this comfort zone and we're playing out this continuous pattern that we've been doing for many years, to break out of that can be very scary. So even if that comfort zone is like we're unhappy in that comfort zone, or we're angry, or we're not really happy, sometimes people want to stay in that because like moving out of that is even more scary, and it's like changing their identity in some way. So it's like, whoa, and it's up to them, like if they want to move out of that or not. And yeah, this is the thing, like this is why I say to my students, like, only practice with people that really want the change, because otherwise it's a waste of time and energy. It's like, it's no point. It's like, if they're not interested in creating the change, don't do it. Like, no point. And yeah,
And that's okay.
yeah, exactly.
Huh?
We're all on different paths, and we're all different. I mean, we're all similar and we're all different. It's like that. I remember when I was traveling, I would see these T-shirts saying same but different. Around Asia, like everyone was wearing these T-shirts, and yeah, we're all human beings. Like, we all want to feel loved and connected, and we all have these little quirks and differences and stories and history and beliefs, and that's what makes it so fascinating. And we can learn so much about each other, especially during this time. Like, taking away the physical contact brings that opportunity to really get to know all the other areas of these people. Like, I have there's cards for connection. I have a pack of cards, and they sell these online, and it's a series of cards that have different questions on them. And they're different questions, and they're all about creating connection. And I play these online, like through WhatsApp. Like, bring out the cards, and we can start a dialogue with whoever I'm communicating with, and open up new things about them as well that perhaps we wouldn't have discovered, or we wouldn't have talked about if it wasn't for this situation. And there are so many games and conversation starters and things out there on the internet, and these are wonderful times to explore that and delve into that and enjoy that.
Yeah, but then there's the other thing that I learned this quite early in life, is that not everybody wants to go deep, right? So there's this opportunity, but there's still, like, I mean, I'm hoping that because we don't have so many superficial types of distractions going out, that we're like forced to be in our homes, which, you know, is for me a metaphor of being, you know, going within in our person too, right? That more people will be interested in going a little deeper into themselves, and others trying to figure out, you know, what everybody else is about too, not just their own, you know, hey, I discovered I also like this version of Netflix or this show, you know, okay. Which, yes, it's nice too. But where we can all go a little bit deeper into our thought forms and our examining our beliefs and our feelings and that kind of stuff, so that we can hopefully come up with some solutions to, you know, so many things that we have to solve. And then we keep looking to the leaders, you know, or whatever, the governments, to solve the problems. And, you know, this is a huge example of, that's not a really good idea, to depend upon, you know, governments to come up with all the answers, because in this very serious situation where we all need, you know, we would hope that our governments would just, you know, we definitely have the resources and everything that we need to be able to get through this and to make it as comfortable as possible for everybody. We're seeing that there are a lot of questionable decisions being made, you know? And so maybe, yeah, how about we start relying on ourselves and start working together to come up with some solutions, instead of thinking that we aren't able, like we're helpless and we don't have the power, and our decisions don't matter and all that stuff, you know, like, well, maybe that's not true. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, it's that equation coming back at cause and being like, okay, what can I do? What do I have influence over, and what positive actions can I do, and how can I influence my community, like the immediate connections and people that I'm in contact with, and all of that. It's very easy to blame the government, and certainly there's a lot of things that can be improved. And at the same time, it's like, okay, what can I do as well? What can I do as well? And having that greater purpose as that motivation is like, okay, humanity as a whole, having a loving, peaceful planet and happy, healthy people on this planet, like having that as that vision and directing our actions towards that.
Yeah, it's very empowering and reassuring, you know, because then you don't have any doubt about the future. You don't have any doubt about the, you know, the humanity. You don't have any doubt, you know, there's no fear for the future generations. It's just like, okay, and of course problems will happen and we'll overcome them just like this, and just like we do in our daily lives, in our on the small level. Like I was saying last night, um yeah, when I was talking to Facebook, I was saying that if we can just start looking at the micro level rather than the macro, like everybody keeps focusing on the big, you know, the government, the system, the whole way, the big result of our tiny little actions on the small level, right? And instead of, why don't we look at how we deal with the problems in our home, and how we are honest, and how we are generous, and how we are or not. You know, I mean, just in my home, like growing up, I always think of this. There was always this huge battle for food. Like, you know, just in your own family, 6 people, the food goes on the table, and it's like, oh, I want, you know, whatever, the best piece of the whatever it is. And I got to get this. And people grabbing, like, to have, like, you're not going to have enough, or you're not going to get any food or something. And it could be like that. If something's really tasty, they put it on the table at a party or whatever. There's always that joke, right? Of like, you know, us overindulging and over consuming and taking too much. Well, then we don't complain about the politicians and all the, you know, big organizations and big businesses and all this stuff in it. But it's like, well, look at what we're doing in our homes. Like, what are we showing to our children? How are we dealing in the tiny little micro level? How are we relating to the people around us? And you have the hippie community, right? That always gets like a bad, oh, hippie, whatever. But it's like, well, yeah, what does it mean to be hippie? It means to be generous, and to like share, and to think about others, and develop compassion and wisdom, all these good qualities that it's like, that's a big joke. Well, it's just not really celebrated or practiced very much. It's been given a bad, like, been made into this silly thing, which I don't know. I think in the end, that's what we all need, not to be hippie, but like to develop those qualities.
To really be mindful about what we're consuming, how we're living our life. Like essentially we're being, like, how I see this is we're being given a situation and an invitation to grow up, to just grow up and to really be responsible in how we're living our life and living on this planet. And I saw this statement on the earth has sent us all to our bedrooms to think about what we've done. So I was,
Wait, say that again. You saw what?
I saw on Facebook there was a statement saying it's almost like Mother Earth has sent us all to our bedrooms so we can think about what we've done.
Yeah,
and
it's a good one.
And I feel like yeah, we're given this opportunity to really grow up and to really be mindful about how we're living our life, like what we're buying, how we're like consuming things, like whether we're like taking responsibility for things or not, what's going on out there, like in terms of governments, big corporations. There's a lot that needs to be improved, and also it's a lot of that is like a mirror of what we are doing as a collective as well. So it's like, again, what you were saying, like coming back to the here and now, our immediate surroundings. Okay, like what are we doing? Like, how are we doing things? Is there anything that we can improve as well? Yeah, absolutely.
So much. Well, shall we wrap it up?
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to add today?
No, it's literally just like, yeah, let's get creative with how we can connect with people. Like one form of connection has been postponed for the time being, and that opens up opportunities for us to explore new ways to connect with people and to really find out like how they like to connect, like what's important for them, like whether they're very visual or auditory or kinesthetic, and how we can deepen connections in this new way.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I'm trying to be creative and get some people involved in, like, you know, calls that normally, you know, we don't prioritize it. And I'm thinking, okay, let's start this call. I won't put a name on it, but this call with this group of people. And then I reach out to, like, I don't know if it was 12 people or something, where, you know, I'm always like, yeah, everyone's going to be so, like, think that it's a great idea too. And then there's almost no answer. Then I have to ask, like, hey, so does anybody else that has seen this actually want to participate? Because like 10 people have seen it, not answered anything. And there's already like a thread, you know, a conversation going on with myself and one other person. And then some people chime in, but at the end, I just had to say, is anybody else excited about this besides me? Because none of the responses are, it's just like one word or thumbs up. I don't even know what that means. Like, does that mean you want to come? You're going to be there? You're interested? Like, I have no idea. So also be patient, you know, and I'm like, okay, so maybe if just 2 of the people out of the 12, then we'll meet and we'll do something fun and we'll see if we're excited about it or not. And maybe people are feeling really bad about the situation, or, you know, I feel very blessed that I'm, you know, feeling very good at the moment. But yeah, be patient also with the reaching out to people that you might not talk to very often, or trying to, hey, let's have a reunion. Because that's what I'm like, let's reunite these people and let's boost everything up and come together and enjoy the connection, and let's, you know, and not everybody is in that place.
We're all in different places, different stages. Yeah.
Literally, we're all literally in different places right now. Mandatory.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Emma, for joining me today. And yeah,
You're welcome.
see you on
Thank
Friday.
you. Yes, thank you. Thank you for doing these.
Okay.